Loudon, Loudon, all around the town. Loudon, Loudon, the friendliest place around. They give their hearts and hands to both you and me. Loudon is the place, my home in Tennessee. Loudon is the place, Loudon naturally, on the banks of the Tennessee.
Oh, so how did you get to Loudon?
Well, how we got to Loudon was Drew, my son, came up to me one day and he says, Dad, are we going to live here? Is this where you want to live the rest of your life? We were in West Knoxville. I had a little ranch out on the Alcoa Highway first,
Okay.
and it just got too much for me to keep up. And Drew, he grew up there, building fences and doing this and that. And Luann, our daughter, was alive then and doing well, and everything was going good. And I thought, well, we'd stay here. And then all of a sudden, I realized it's going to be too much work when you got older. Keep that. I had a couple of cows I was keeping out there. I had 3 horses. But anyway, we moved to West Knoxville and got over there, and then finally decided to take an older house. We went to a condo to start with, an older house and rebuild it. I always wanted to get a chance to do that, but that's the worst thing a person can do. And I'll give you the advice right now. You open up a can of worms in an old house, you just start one project and everything else falls
Right,
apart.
that's what I heard.
But anyway, we got that in West Knoxville. Loved the location over there, just off the interstate right there and just out of Bearden. And we decided, Drew came up to me and he says, are you going to be trying, you're going to live here? Is that where you want to live? And I said, well, not exactly. I said, I don't mind moving. He says, well, I'll tell you what. He says, let's start looking at some places. And by that time, Drew had sold his home over in Sevierville, or Sevier County, and had come home, sort of taking care of his mom and me, and working out of our house. And then he said, well, why don't I start looking for some homes? And I said, okay. Well, I didn't pay any attention more to it. He said, Dad, let's go out, you and Mom. And I found a few places I want to look. So he said, what do you want to go first? I said, well, I'll just try to find us something that's smaller. We just need a small place. And he says, well, do you like Anderson County? I said, yeah, I like Anderson County. And I said, I like Monroe County, and I said, I especially like Loudon County. And Loudon County is just down from where they just, and I know Catherine, my wife, and his mother, I knew that she would want to be near a shopping center and, a place that had more to offer than just right in the city of Loudon. So they had just got started at that time, almost completed, but just really underway with the Turkey Creek. And I knew that would suit Catherine fine. So she was tickled to death with it. So we went to Sevier County and looked at the house over there, and it was during the season when the cars were everywhere. And I thought, man, we can't even go across the street to the grocery store. Here we can't get, the traffic's awful. So Drew says, well, what about Loudon County? And we drove down here and got into this brand new subdivision at the time, right over behind Food City off of 72, and worked out fine. And so we came on down here, and everybody here was just really open to us, wide open, and wanting me to be here, and seemingly we were very friendly. And so the kind of place that reminded me of being home. I kind of wanted to get back to my hometown roots of down in Georgetown, South Carolina, right outside of Myrtle Beach, and 60 miles actually north of Charleston, and 30 miles south of Myrtle Beach, and a small town. Well, anyway, that's where
your
we
background.
went.
Would you give us a little information about where you grew up?
Well, I was born in Georgetown County, South Carolina, one of 12 children. Only 8 of them lived to maturity, but when we were growing up, I was born at Greenfield Plantation. It was an old rice plantation, and back to the slavery days of when South Carolina produced about as much rice as China did at that time. Anyway, we decided that we would just, I guess my dad being a fisherman there, it was a perfect place for him, but he had to find a place that had water and a river where we could get out to the sea, He was a commercial fisherman. That's how we grew up, and a farmer also, and a timberman too. And the Depression hit the year that I was born in 29, and that's when the crash came, and I sort of grew up as well, there were three of us at the end. My sister, who lives up in Virginia Beach now, and then my younger brother, he's 90, but he's still my younger brother. And we sort of just grew up in that Depression time when it was really, really tough. And finally, my dad had to give up some things when he got older, and we moved into town, into Georgetown. And then went from a little country school out in Plantersville, it was called, to Georgetown Grammar School. And then the high school was right next door. They just built it, and they expanded on what they had. And finished school there, and fortunately had a great coach who was really instrumental in my life, Coach Ed McClendon. He came there from Clemson in 1942. Now, we just finished a book. I say we had nothing to do with it, but they just finished a book on the Gators. That's what we were called, the Georgetown High School, or Winyaw High was the name of the high school. But we went as Georgetown High School Gators. Well, the Gators book and all that explains all this stuff in it, but what we really did that made it so nice is this guy, Ed McClendon, the coach from Clemson, came down in 42, and I went in, I started, I believe in the 7th grade at 43. I went out for the regular varsity, didn't have a chance, of course. But by the time I got to 45, we had a good football team going, and I got to play all through there. And then because of his help and his promise and what he was able to see in me that I didn't know I had, he was able to recommend me at Clemson because I had several small school scholarships around South Carolina, but he wanted me to go to Clemson, and that's where I wanted to go. So got a scholarship to Clemson, and then from there, of course, got into the working field, and then started
what position did you play in football?
Well, in high school, I was a guard and a tackle, a lineman, and a center. As people graduated and we needed to fill the spot, fortunately, I could play about anywhere on the line. I was also a linebacker. But by the time I got to Clemson, I was recruited as a linebacker and played center on offense, even though I was not really had the ideal build for a center on offense at that time, but I could manage to do it, and I snapped the ball for the punts, a long snap, and did all that, and was a linebacker. That was really what I did the best. And if you ever have a chance to look through my book or read it, sometime you'll see the teams we played against in college. Maryland, number 2 at the time. Georgia Tech, number 1, and I believe I'm not sure, but I think let's see, we had one more team that was right up there at the top of the class at that time, and it was Miami. So those are the teams that I played against. So I really got some good experience in college.
So what are some of the fun memories, or just
growing up
in
in Georgetown, South Carolina, was almost like Happy Days, if you remember that from television. And everybody was pulling together. This country has never been more united than it was in World War II. We were united because right before that, the preparation came for the war from having to sacrifice the hard times we were having then during the Depression. And people gave to each other and looked out for each other. And I had the best high school friends, and the dances and the girls and everything that you have when you go through high school. Those were my fun days. And then I went on and continued that just on a little higher level at Clemson. And finally got around to when the boys came back from the war in Georgetown, the ones in special services. They had a band that they put together, about a 16, 17-piece band playing the big bands of World War II songs. It was I didn't touch a guitar or didn't do any country, even though we had one at home when I was a boy growing up. But I got a chance. I begged Jack Blunt, who was the and by the way, a descendant of William Blunt at Blunt County here. We talk about it so much. But he got back from the service, and they formed the band, and he finally gave me a chance. He said, well, okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. You come down to the Moose Club. We got a job down there. You get there about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're going to see if you can do it. Here's a song I want you to sing, and he gave me the words and all the key and everything. And I really worked on it for about a week, and I showed up down there on Wednesday afternoon, got the job, and Saturday I was singing with them at night.
So those were fun times.
Oh, great times. And then, of course, my college days, and then meeting my beautiful beauty queen, Southern Belle, Catherine, from Charleston. You can't be more Southern than to be, having been born in Savannah and grew up in Charleston. That's what she was. She was a true Southern lady and beauty, in my opinion, and lost her not long ago, but we really miss her.